But if I need to do it in my blue jeans, because maybe I'm in CCW and my holster is internal holster, I was in appendix or whatever, and I need to rack this in my pocket, or yeah, the theory is always great, it's super cool, things happen in the range, in a training environment where nobody is going to shoot you back, where everything is perfect, because whatever you're going to do, you're going to move for first, or you're going to shoot for first, right? So you can do cool stuff in the range. But then if you need to apply this in a real context, then you want to tell me that you want to put your life on doing something like this, and if you miss, you know how much time and the exposure you have. So if I don't have an option that is 100%, that bring me easy, remember, very fast things, under stress, we need to make a selection, priorities. Big is better than small. So we know that under stress, we are going to lose probably our small motricity, okay, our fine motricity, right? So we can start to shake, and this is because our nervous system are involved in stress, because the cortical part of our brain generate this kind of reaction. So we have, it's where we are going to cover the stress pathology. We are going deep in this, but now just to understand. So we know this, right? So for logic, and not for zero, for logic, understand? We know that stress is we need to follow this point. So if we are going to use this under in a real context, this is going to happen because our life or the life of someone else near us is in danger, right? So we are competing for our life, and we are competing. We are competing for our life, and we need to do our best performances, right? For sure. This can happen without stress? No. No way that we are going to compete for our life in white condition as we are in a shooting range. No way that we are going to be static. No way that we can repeat that action. No way that we have the advantage to shoot for first or to move for first. Probably just because there is a word that is called defense or defense in our license, this means that we are authorized, we are allowed to defend ourselves against someone else. So this means that someone else already acting on us, doing a potential lethal action against us. So we are going to start for a second. We are going to start with a negative gap, with a delay. So if we start in delay, we are going to start with a disadvantage, not in advantage, right? So this what means that we can't miss nothing. Okay? So if we are going to act in a real contest, defending our life, competing for our life, we are sure, 100%, that we are going to act under stress. So if I know that I'm going to act under the higher level of stress, because whatever I did in training, even if in training I worked in a stress inoculation, for sure, what I'm going to find in real contest is worse, because nobody in training, nobody on the range attempt to my life. In the real contest, yes, because no rules, because I'm defending my life. So at that point, what happened? At that point, I need to start the works recreating how I can balance this in training. I told you in one of the lectures that we did the other days. I know that stress works in 3 different levels. I need to recreate the 3 levels in everything I do in training. Now, this means that I need to work under stress, always. And I need to use the logic and the filter that whatever I'm going to do, I need to remember that I'm going to act under the highest level of stress. So this brings me on select the priorities, on select my action, my technical options. So for example, when you ask me, which is better, the thumb or the power stroke? So now, just cover this point. Every time I do, for example, reload, right? Dry reload, or if I need to go for top rack, okay? So, in your opinion, which is bigger? The slide block, the hold open, or the slide? Which is the bigger part? The slide Which is better, to use one finger and do a small movement that need to be really accurate, or is better to grip with one hand? Is better one finger or 5 finger and one palm? Which is which is safer? Which is safer in terms of arrive to the goal? One finger or 5 finger press the palm? Small or big? So under stress, we always need to select this. Big is better than small. Easy is better than complex. Every time I need to do a movement, more is easy. The biomechanic of the movement and is more is applicable under stress. If a movement require me, for example, here, so no mag in, okay, triple check, mechanical, visual, and my finger in the chamber. So now I every time remember to do triple check, okay? Tactical trinity. 1 is known, 2 is 1, 3 is the key. Now here, look at here the problem, for example, with Beretta is the safety leverage and that works also to the cock in the back grip. So the risk is that if I'm going to apply power stroke, then I can apply the safety for mistake. This happened many times, right? So there are different options where people used to put the fingers under the leverage and do it the power stroke. Now tell me, if you are under stress and you need to rack the slide and you are in delay and maybe you are dressing gloves, you think that this is give you enough warranties to arrive to this point under stress? No way that you can feel this small leverage under stress. So why I need to close myself in this kind of option where I can work on the front part, where I can go, where I can work in a different way, different option where I have no risk, which is easier to acquire, this leverage or this piece of slide? Better this piece of slide, because here I can go with my hand. Here I need to go with the toes of my fingers to place the fingers under the leverage to be sure that the safety doesn't go on when I'm racking the slide. And you think this is applicable under stress in a condition where we are in delay and you need to chamber for any reason you are not chambering, you are empty, and you need to save your life? So again, better big than small, better easy and instantly. So I'm here. As soon as I do tap, rack, bang, I still on the axis of the target. I don't want to exit from the axis of the target, right? So everything, there is a rule, right? Keep it simple, stupid. The key is rule. Keep it simple, stupid. What means? Means everything you must do it. Remember that you are going to work under one filter. If we are talking about real context, is we are talking about something where the space for mistake is minimal or nothing. If you miss, you pay the price. And this time, the price could be very high. So there is no chance to do the second time. So say, hey, time out, sorry, I was wrong. Let me repeat. Let me do better, right? And remember, you could be the best shooter in the world. You could be the super champion. But that day, for mistake, and sorry the bad word, and shit happens, right? Marfilos, again, for that day, for the first time in your life, you're going to grip your t-shirt together with the gun. You never did before in training, but that day happened. And what do you want to say? Hey, normally I don't do this, but I did a really bad draw, so I lost my firearm. Let me repeat, and I do better. You think that this could be possible? No, right? You can slick. You can simply slick. This happen. Or you can have people around you that normally in the shooting range you don't have. Maybe there is your wife beside you. Eh? And what happened? You train with your life in a shooting range? You don't, right? So this is a big problem, a huge problem. More, because maybe you know how to move. I step out of the muzzle. Yeah, cool. That's great. And your wife? Who's going to take care about your wife that remain on the muzzle? You think about this? When you think that you are a super ninja, you think about real problems. The real problems on a real life are this. We need to understand how it works. So we need to train ourselves at the best, yes, but we need to be real in our training. Not cool stuff, something that works, simple stuff that I can apply easy under stress. I need to understand, when I want to teach firearms, if I want to work on training with the firearms, I need to understand that it's not enough to train on a shooting range and stop. If I am an instructor, that I become instructor because I learned everything on the shooting range, I'm a mechanical instructor. I'm not a firearm instructor. Or could be good in a sport, in competitions, because competitions has another goal. The training environment and the applicative environment, I do competition in the shooting range, exactly where I train myself. So the two environments are completely the same. So I can train everything related with a competition, with a sport, even if I'm a professional athlete, I can learn everything in the range. Better to go deep in some arguments, maybe on the books, but if I am a firearm instructor and I teach something that is going to be applied in the real life, then I need to study a lot. Are more the hours that I spend on the class than what I spend on the range. Because I need to study medicine, I need to study psychology, I need to study physics, I need to study mechanical, I need to study tons ballistic. I need to study tons of different field of applications that are related with the firearms. It's not enough to study just how to shoot and hit the plate or how to shoot a center mass and doing bang, bang, bang. Understand? So, remember, be sure to understand your options, your techniques. Because if you are not able to understand what you're doing, you won't be able never to apply that option. Because if you don't understand when is the moment or when you have the parameters to apply that options, because you didn't understand the options, the technical reason of that option, then you wouldn't be able to apply that option never, right? Because you don't understand what is the moment. So don't copy, don't go for imitate an instructor. Be sure to understand your options, your techniques. That makes sense. And filter the option, including my option. I'm going to be the first. Check all the videos. If you don't understand something, then ask me why. Now, there are some principles or some drills. You can do it for mechanical, just to train one frame, not related everything on the real contest, right? We are building, it's like a puzzle, right? But the final goal is for real contest. So everything I do in training, normally what we do in our system, we are going to disassembling our training in multiple frames. And we want to increase frame by frame before we are going to assembling again everything and we have the whole picture. Understand? This is how we proceed normally in our training. And this is, I hope, could you define the tactical trinity? Stephen, 1 is known, 2 is 1, 3 is the key. This is the tactical trinity. That's the different. Standing in a port is but keep taking your skill to the next level. Yeah, that makes sense. What kind of arm do you recommend for home defense? GI. The problem is the kind of experience. Which is your experience with handgun? Which is your experience? For example, and it depends about the laws also. The shotgun, there are tons of things that are related with home defense. Let's afford this, and it's silly. It's like it's not because I don't want to answer, but because the answer requires a lot of time to be explained, right? Because we need to talk about home defense. It's one of the topics that I want to afford together with you in the next days. We are going to talk specifically about home defense. Okay, that's something. Se ti faccio la domanda ma non sei riuscito a rispondere prima, con esse valgono tutte le regole come Glock, Made in Champion, Made in the Champion. Paolo, io ti ho risposto prima, quindi dipende sempre da chi sei, dove sei e cosa devi fare. Quindi se mi stai chiedendo la manipolazione è sempre la stessa, la devi adattare su specifiche tecniche della piattaforma, ma nel tuo caso mi sembra identica, la manipolazione ovviamente non di beretta. Però il discorso del colpo in canna o del caricatore o di quello che il principio principio logico è sopra la piattaforma, quindi io applico il cambio tattico a tutte le piattaforme nello stesso modo. Poi c'è la specifica tecnica dove ho una piattaforma che ha un leveraggio di sicura in back grip, non andrò a azionare il power stroke sul grip posteriore, andrò a azionare la presa anteriore, ma il concetto resta lo stesso del principio del cambio caricatore. Il colpo in canna è una scelta, salvo che non sia imposto dall'amministrazione. Se io scelgo di non portare il colpo in canna, allora devo sapere che in training dovrò montare la mia azione di caricamento del colpo durante la fase reattiva. Non so se sono tutte le regole come per il block. Mag-in, chamber, check-in. Tu intendi per il chamber check? Il chamber check lo applico con i principi che ti ho spiegato. La tipologia del chamber check è la stessa, dipende se sono al buio, di giorno, eccetera, eccetera. Guarda in base alle caratteristiche della piattaforma che hai, alle dimensioni della piattaforma che hai, le esigenze di contesto, utilizzerai il chamber check tattile o magari il chamber check visivo, o magari se è a dispositivo, dipende da quello che... under heavy stress, you have one option, friendly techniques for not mechanical movement. What do you mean? Panagiotis, what do you mean? I have about 6 different weapons for home defense. Yeah, choose one that is yours and train with that. Remember that home defense is probably the worst conditions you can have. It's the worst condition you can afford. Okay? And how often you train? Me? Unfortunately, not a lot. But train every time you can. But again, remember, guys, that 80% of training is based on dry fire, especially at the beginning. And remember that the base is the most important part of the training. So always remember that the foundations of shooting are the best part you can cover. Okay, so the fundamentals of shooting. Don't have shame to train the base. Che ne pensi del metodo di caricamento del colpo partendo da empty chamber? Questo ti ho già risposto su un'altra, ti ho spiegato che allora a livello meccanico l'azione va bene perché loro lavorano su una rotazione sull'asse del bersaglio. La scelta o meno, questa è una cosa che abbiamo già discusso, non ne voglio ridiscutere adesso. A livello meccanico l'azione è corretta, funziona. Il fatto che sia senza camera o no, questa è una scelta individuale, cioè di portare il colpo in camera o meno è una scelta individuale. With what's going on, what's the best things we should do training in our home since we cannot shot? Dry fire, cognitive training. Cognitive dry fire, cognitive mechanical dry fire. You can do tons of things in the house. 80% is in the house of training. Check the drills. I checked the other lecture I did. I talked about drills, cognitive drills, and all the stuff. What holster do you use and recommend? What holster you mean? I'm working with Falco holster now. It's a great company. The products are homemade. The quality, they do different kind of products. They do, for example, leather. The leather is Italian leather, so the top quality. We modify the guards with inserting, making harder with a piece of plastic and the kydex inside, so you have a strong guard, even for appendix. We did a lot of. You can find a lot of models. The company works very, very serious way. The products are now more than 1 year that I'm testing the product all around the world. And then they do hybrid holster between Kevlar, kydex and leather. They do full leather, very high, very cool stuff, and they do all kind of products. Open carry for inside waistband, outside waistband, appendix, all kind of options. And then we are projecting the holster 0 in the next months. You're going to see my holster. How many are you for live fire practice? Around 200. Remember that you need to always to know. This is something that we are going to afford, but you always to know before you arrive on the range what you're going to. This is why you need to have a training book, a training diary, a workbook where you write and you note everything. So before you go into the range, you must know before which are going the points that you're going to train, which drills you're going to run, how many rounds for each drill, or how many rounds total in that section you're going to shoot. Normally, it's 200 is the average that you can shoot. Then if you go less and you shoot more, you can do it. But if you train often, around 200. It's not based on the amount of the rounds you shoot, but how you shoot every single round. Do you recommend learning shooting with a red or a dot or not? And why? So, David, the big question is, you are a civilian. I mean, the dot is faster. So if I need to align 3 points or 1 point, is faster 1 point, right? So it depends which kind of dot you want. If we are talking about RMR, so we are talking about handgun, right? So for example, I'm using now a kind of dot that you can apply. I shown you I'm going to show you again, but I'm using now the RDS by MeproLife. It's a kind of dot that you can apply in a site everywhere, in all kind of generation, for example, of Glock without modify the slide. If are not, for example, Gen 3, you need to cut the slide if you want to apply the dots. In this case, you just apply a rear sight, and up of that you can put your dots. It's a system, you can check it. So the process is, anyway, out of the product that you can use, the point is, the dot can change the angle of your draw. So if you start to train with the dot, it's something that change your way to manage the sights and change a little bit the angle of on the draw. But remember another point: when, for example, when you use standard sights, the point that is under focus is the front sight. When you use the dot, the point is under focus is the target. It's not anymore the dot, right? So pros and cons as always. So if you are a civilian, it's your platform, then you can choose to use a red dot or not. But if you choose a red dot, then you need to train. What I can advise you to don't lose training on the iron sights, on the standard sights. Don't train only with a dot, but train mainly with a dot. So 1 point is faster than 3 point. In low light, pros and cons, you know. I have a tendency to slap the trigger with my support hand. In the other words, my right hand is my support, and my rounds are falling button. Kelly, so first, you're lefty. Whatever. So first of all, go to the lector and check the grip in that way, how you should grip the gun. Then as soon you are sure that your grip is good, you match the grip with the grip that I explained in the other lecture. Then see if you're going to have the same problem. Anyway, are two different things. 80% of the mechanical action is based on the grip. The trigger part is a shorter part. Okay, if you have a good grip, you can compensate many times, even a trigger mistake. The problem is that some trigger mistakes are generated by a bad grip, or by the fact that you are not able to hold the gun while you're shooting. So you start with a good grip on the first round, second round, then the gun start to move inside your hand, change angle and axis inside your hand, because you are not able to control with your grip, with the proper grip, your firearm. And that at the point, even your finger into the triggers change the approach and the leverage. And so you can start to have a trigger mistake even in that side, because the grip. So first of all, verify the grip. Second, there are good trigger, for example, good trigger action. First is work on a reset. Second is you can work with an empty shell. I'm going to show you maybe tomorrow, after tomorrow. You can place your empty shell on the rear side in the vertical position and then you start to press the trigger without flip down the empty shell. When you become good here, then you pass in the front side. You put an empty shell, and then you need to pull the trigger without flip down the empty shell, pointing the gun. If I can advise you, use a little wire to link your empty shell to the slide with a piece of tape, so the empty shell remain here, and you don't need to go to find the empty shell every time on the ground. That's it. I have only one option for home defense: AR-15, AR-15, shotgun. Between the three, Hamed going for shotgun. For home defense, AR-15 and AR-47 are not are not the proper platform at all. It's depends about where you live. If you live in a castle, then it can work. But if you have AK-47, the penetration of AK-47, the collaterals you can generate, the rebound you can generate, use a shotgun way better, and different kind of configuration, not slag on shotgun for sure. You need to use a simple trap cartridge because 28 grams of the 28 grams of plumb of cartridge, the same you use for trap, are more than good because so in a short distance are terrible, and in a soon, especially if your barrel is a short barrel, you can going to open a lot your grouping so that you can control in short distance the collaterals. We are going to afford that, but shotgun for sure, not AR-15 inside home. If we are talking about external application, you have a huge property. Then the concept is completely different. I'm talking about indoor, inside a standard house. Okay, the fine motor skills, being bad under stress, real things. I've seen beige camps where police make mistakes on reloads. Yeah, sure. There is a big difference between the perfect theory on training and the imperfect application in a real context. And sometimes this difference can determine the life or the death of the subject. Okay. What date? I think there is a playlist on the page regarding the English lecture. Don't kill me. I'm not sure which was the date, but I did like a 3 or 4 lessons, so it's not hard to find it. Kelly. Anyway, let's see in the next lecture. If you ask me again, I'm going to choose which is. I'm going to see where is that part. Anyway, I can recap for you. Not a big deal. What specific exercise you should practice to improve marksmanship, and how much ammunition is recommended for each session? Wow, man, it's a very. There are tons of drills. If you're going on the page, you can find tons of video. For example, many times, every time you see maximum concentration drill, or every time, for example, no sights drill. If you want to train the sights, the aim, sometimes use the platform without the sights. Go in and watch the no sights series, for example. Why we don't use the sights? Because in that way we increase our body weapon discipline, the rapport between our platform and our biomechanical sights. So the interaction between our body and the platform. So the axis, the movement, the leverages, and all the time. And you start to acquire the target, even a small target, just with your profile, just with your body, and you're going to see if you are efficient or not. There are a lot of videos. Now it's very long to explain, but there isn't an amount of rounds. Normally, for example, I decide to work today. I'm going to train efficiency on target, or I'm going to train accuracy. So I start to work more on. I start to work less in draw, for example, or even that is it. So when we talk, it's long, but let me introduce you in the proper time. When you talk about marksman, it's depend about what. There is static and dynamic. There is draw, because I want to train marksman in my first reaction shot. I want to train marksman in 2 rounds when I do controlled pair, or triple controlled 3 rounds. I want to train as marksman when I am static, or when I'm dynamic. I want to train marksman in a relaxed condition, and I want to train marksman when I'm under high level of stress. So I have my respiration is alterated, my breathing is my cycle of oxygen is alterated by the stress inoculation that I provide me during my training. So I start to have a different heart rate. I start to have a different cycle of oxygen. I start to go in hypoxia, oxygen deprivation, or hyperoxia. So I start to go in hyperventilation. So there are different things where I need to prepare. It's not enough. We cover a lot details in our training. So it's not, when we talk about marksman is huge. You have multiple frames every time. For example, normally I start when I want to train my accuracy, I start warm up, and then I start, for example, in a white condition, and I want to see how is my accuracy in different drills, and then I start to do the same drills with running, push-ups, and burpees, so I can start to have an alteration of my parameters, and I want to see how change my accuracy on that, and I still static, and the target still static. Then I want to be dynamic, because I want to see my accuracy on dynamic condition how it is, or I want to have the worst is when I have both target and shooter in a dynamic condition, when I work with the pulse, with ISTS, for example. So there are tons of drills. I work with mask. Every time you see a video where I work with gas mask, it's not because I want to recreate a chemical scenario, but just because I want to recreate oxygen deprivation, because my bird and the mask, they doesn't work. I don't want to work on a chemical scenario. On the chemical side, I want to work on oxygen deprivation, right? If you don't have the mask, just put a piece of towel, and if you use water, if you make wet, become harder, less air in your lungs, and so oxygen deprivation very fast. Last question, Kelly. Thank you. Last question. Currently, I shoot 180 pointing. For example, I'm not a big fan of 40 caliber. Someone said that one is better for personal defense. So, listen, Kelly Scott. So, listen, don't do that. You are approaching in the wrong way. What means? Means that first, if we don't talk about stopping power before you learn how to pull the trigger. Don't talk about the caliber before you have learned how to grip the gun in the proper way. Otherwise, you are going to be one of the tons and tons of people that they fight in internet about which is the best caliber for defense, and you are not able to have the best static and dynamic manipulation. You don't have experience in low light. You don't have experience in vehicle tactics. You don't have experience in the CQB. That are the 4 pillars of defense. So before you arrive to talking about 165 grams or 180 grams, what is you think that make the difference to hit or not the target? This is the big difference. So if you are telling me, if you are asking me about the trigger mistakes, so first you need to not solve the trigger mistake. You need to have a perfect shooting action. You need to have a perfect mechanical action on your platform. Then start with 9 millimeters. Don't use 40. 40 is too nervous. 40 is every time under stress. You can have your hands. They can swear. You can have sweat in your hands. So your hands. This is a normal reaction, even for people that normally they have a dry hands. So if you don't control your platform in the proper way, you start to have a bad grip with a 40 cal. You can start to lose a grip, and when you start to lose grip, you start to lose efficiency on your target, accuracy in your target. Then if you don't have a good trigger action, then you are done. So don't lose yourself behind these points. You need to work on the foundations now of shooting. Give the priority to learn how to shoot in the proper way. Give the priority to learn to learn and to acquire the tools that you need to carry a firearm. You need to be able to carry a firearm during the day and during the night. So if you carry the firearm when it's low light, when you have it's afternoon or night, then you have a low visibility. So this means that if you are not trained for low light, you have a big problem, because low light and daylight are two different things, are two different planets. Then if you carry a firearm inside a vehicle, then you need to know how to work inside the vehicles, because you need to know how to deal with the safety belts and airbags, and everything is around you is a ballistic filter, like a windshield, the side glasses. So don't lose yourself about 165 grams or 180 grams. You need to lose yourself that what happened if I shoot inside my car, or can happen that someone attack me, for example, for carjacking while I am driving, and what happened? How I need to use my firearms, how I can remove my safety belt, how I need to manage airbags. So this is what you need to understand and where you need to be focusing on. Understand? So don't going on these kind of details as people do normally in internet. You need to go over. Try 9 mil, because there is no, listen, you know that the stopping power is super overvalued. That you think that you don't have warranty, even with a 40 mil, with a 40, that if you shoot a subject, you can stop an action immediately. There are tons of variables, right? So here is the same. So the 9 mil is more than good to start. The 40 is too nervous for a beginner. I don't know the level of experience, but if you ask me about the trigger action because you are doing a mistake, I understand that you don't have a lot of experience, or you need to solve first micro mistake before you're going into so small details regarding the hammer. But to answer to your questions regarding single. Every time you work with a lighter ballast, lighter means higher velocity. So you must be sure that you train and you carry the same type of ammunitions, right? You don't go for use different stuff. So do you think that make the difference between 165 to 180? It's really a details. What makes the difference to hit the target in the proper way, to have a cognitive process that your brain is super able to complete an array analysis, rationalization, action in a proper time, to send an order to say react and hit the target. This is my opinion. Let's go over. And guys, we arrived to I really appreciate your lecture, guys, from South Louisiana. Richard, thank you very much. It doesn't make sense to train with a 22 LR pistol, even if I carry 9x19. Fernando, not so-and-so. What it means? If you have a problem, so the 22 caliber, normally in the past years, many people, they apply, even on the units. They did a AK in 22 caliber in Germany when it was East Germany, the Stasi, they used to train with that because less risk, less cost on the hammers, and it's more applicable in the CQB, in the kind of training facilities. But again, doesn't change a lot between the 22 in training and then but if you carry a 9 mil, train with the same platform that you work or you carry. Don't change a platform. You can change a platform to train your finger to be trained to work with everything, but yes, if you want to save some money in hammers, you can work, but better to use the same caliber. Always shoot gun outside. I took a class and I shoot inside a car, under the car, to the car. I could not believe the difference there was. Pay and get some classes in. Yeah, and that's for example, sorry, I have the dog that is arriving here. Okay, answer to zero. What the holster would you recommend for HP USP 9x19? Check. Falco holsters, the website, you can find a later holster, Kydex, hybrid, whatever. It's more than 1 year that I'm tracking you. Build the base now, then worry about yes. I don't know if now, because you have two names here, so I suppose it's Scott. Anyway, Scott, now be focused on the huge. Let's start with the macro. So goal number one, have a perfect mechanical manipulation of the platform. So this means static and dynamic. We start in static to arrive to dynamic. So this means grip, trigger action, focus, sight management, okay, in a static way. Next step, draw, firearm presentation, reaction shot. Have the best reaction shot. This means start slow, and then we build the speed with reps, but with time. Don't have rush for that, okay? So step by step. As soon as we have this, we work on the senses. We're going to afford this. Guys, I need to go for dinner because our close to 3 hours that I'm talking, I'm done. Zero, glad to hear doing this training lecture, so hopeful and valuable. Thank you, Daniel. You are welcome. It's my pleasure. I love this live lesson. Jeff, thank you, man. Guys, everywhere in the world that you are fighting with this, as we are doing, that we are fighting, brothers and sisters, that you are fighting with the coronavirus. It's something that is going to be hard. The next weeks, they are going to be hard, worse than the one we passed. So be strong. We are strong under this. We exit together. This is a worldwide problem. So we need to do, and everyone should give his contribute. And this is my little part. I hope it's going to be useful for you, just to make less boring your time at home. Thank you very much. See you maybe tomorrow, maybe after tomorrow with an English lesson. I know that every time I speak Italian, you say, hey, where in English? It's hard for me to speak English and Italian in the same lesson because more time, I need to prepare the material, but I have a lot of things to do in my job. I have contracts, I have training programs, I have a lot of stuff because everything now is blocked. So I'm working with units, I'm working with people that are providing training programs. And maybe for the next week, I have a big surprise because we are going to start a new experiment that is never did before in this industry in the world, in the tactical industry in the world, something like that. I don't think so. I never saw this before, but maybe it's something that we're going to see in the future. So big hug to everybody. Have a good night. Stay safe. Stay home, and we stand together against this coward enemy. Thank you very much, guys. See you next time.